Hi, welcome back. I'm here weaving on my diving whale Naaxiin robe, and I just finished these double eyes, and I am doing the 3-strand braid. So I started a 3-strand braid in on this left corner, and now and I wove it across. So there's a top black braid. Then I wove a white 3-strand. I entered that, and it wove across the entire width of those double eyes. And then I turned the ends around to meet somewhere in the center. So I have 2 rows of white 3-strand braiding, and above those 2 rows I had entered the black 3-strand. And so now, right now, I turned the ends. I'm going to turn the ends around, and they're going to meet in the center somewhere also. So this is a black 3-strand that I first entered right below those double eyes. Then I entered a white 3-strand, and that white 3-strand went across once, and then it took the turned around, and then it went across twice. So there's 2 rows of white, and now I'm doing that the 3-strand. I've slowed the camera down, so that I've slowed the video down so that you can actually watch the actions of my hands as I'm doing this 3-strand. Because a lot of times when I teach Naaxiin, I tell people, get a hold of Cheryl Samuel's book, The Chilkat Dancing Blanket, and read it, and then follow through with her instructions, because it's very much an instructional book. It can really help you weave the Naaxiin. But the one thing, when I was learning under Cheryl, I had written a grant, and I had a grant money to study with her. Well, when I was studying with her, she was living in Victoria, and I was living in Port Townsend on the peninsula there, Olympic Peninsula, and we really couldn't get together very often. So I had, the okay to call her anytime I needed, and she shared a lot of notes with me and stuff. But I was still long distance learning, and so when it got to the braiding, I started doing the braiding, and it just looked frumpy and messy. It didn't have that beautiful rope-like appearance. And so I called her up, and I said, I'm doing it over and over again. I'm doing it, taking that out, doing it just like the book says, and it just looks messy and doesn't look like the illustrations, and it doesn't look like any of the 3-strand braids that I've seen in the museums of old robes. And she said, oh, okay, I forgot to tell you that you need to change how you move your hands from what the ancestors did. And the reason why is because we're using commercial factory-made yarns that are now being always consistently spun with a S twist to the plies. And our traditional ways of creating these wefts was to go down the thigh like we do the warps, and then you get a Z twisted weft. But we were working with, and we as contemporary weavers are now working with the commercial yarns that we buy in the stores for the wefts. and those are always spun on a S direction. So when you move your hands like the ancestors and doing the 3-strand, you're gonna get a kind of a messy, zippy, zingy, sloppy looking 3-strand braid. And you won't have that beautiful rope-like pattern that the ancestors had. So in order to get that nice rope-looking pattern, you really need to adjust how you move your hands. And so, like I said, the reason why I slowed this down was so that you could see what adjustment I did so that I could create that beautiful rope-like pattern. Now the rope-like pattern does lean into a different direction than the rope-like pattern that you see in the old robes that were using the traditional wefts. They do have a slant to them that is different, but it still has that beautiful rope pattern. So that's how and why I adjust my 3 strands. So here you'll see that my action 1 moves through its partners by going first in front of the middle one. So see, I'm grabbing that. I'm going in front of the middle one, in back of the front one, and then down where that front one came up and behind one warp. Now this one's the action 1. So it's going to go moving in the middle, in front of the middle one, in back of the front one, down where the front one came up, and then to the back behind one warp, and there you go. So that adjustment is really important, I feel, for the beautiful look of 3 strands. Now there's a lot of people who get Cheryl's book and they didn't have the benefit of having her direction, her guidance, and so they'll read that book and then they'll do exactly what how the 3-strand is illustrated in that book, and then their braids look kind of sloppy because they didn't adjust. They didn't adjust their hand movements, and the reason why you're adjusting your hand movements is because the wefts that we now purchase in the yarn stores are all S twisted direction with their plies. And so I recently heard Lily Hope, who does a lot of teaching, and she was doing some demonstrations, and she referred to my technique. So I would like to emphasize why these hand actions were changed from what the ancestors did. Now, right now in the video, I'm going to that side and I'm taking and turning those 3-strand braid yarns around the edge of the last warp of that shape, and it's going to go and have one warp between each of those 3-strand yarns. Okay, now that one goes in front of, or well, also these 3 strands that are working from right to left, the action 1 is that back one, and I'm going to move it behind it's hard to explain in words, and that's why it's good to see my hands in action, and I'm slowed it down. Like I told you, I slowed it down for you to be able to see that the difference when you're weaving from left to right and right to left. Okay, and so I would encourage you to take a look at the actions and what is different from them when you're weaving left to right and right to left, right? So the action 1 goes behind the middle one, in front of the front one. Okay, so it's going behind, in front, and then down and behind one warp and up. And if you could see that difference, that would be really good. I got a GoPro, and I've got it taped to a headband so that you can actually get there into my weaving, so you can see it better. So that's the 3 ways, or the 3 strand. First, I showed you from left to right, and now I'm showing you the actions of my hands, my adjusted hand movements from right to left. Okay? So thank you very much for returning to this YouTube channel, and I hope that this helps you in your endeavors to weave the 3-strand braid in the Naaxiin manner, creating the beautiful rope-like pattern. Hawa. Thank you. Bye.